Hello and welcome. My name is Daniel Helbling. We are here at the ASCO update in Zurich. I'm a medical oncologist. Next to me is Dr. Martin Früh from the Kantonsspital in St. Gallen. He's a lung cancer specialist, also a medical oncologist. Martin, we'd like to discuss today the practice-changing studies of ASCO 2013. Could you please summarize what was for you really practice-changing?
Thank you, Daniel. For me, I have to say the clear winner this year was where the second generation ALK inhibitors. First and foremost, it was a compound called LDK738, which shows very promising response rates of almost 60% and a promising progression-free survival of more than 8 months in somewhat more than 110 patients within a phase 1 study. And most importantly, about 2/3 or 70% of these patients were pre-treated with crizotinib, the licensed ALK inhibitor. So with LDK 378, we now have an option for these patients who have been resistant to crizotinib and can respond, have a high chance to respond to this new agent.
So this is a second line for ALK-positive lung cancer patients when they fail. This is a fairly small group, I guess, but this is really promising that they have a second chance, in a way, a second substance they can get.
Well, it is certainly an option for patients who have progressed under crizotinib, that's for sure. As you know, about 5% of all non-small cell cancer patients are ALK positive, which is on the whole not such a small group, and eventually all the patients will fail with crizotinib, and for them we now have a new option. Another advantage of this drug is that obviously it also penetrates to the CNS, which often was a sanctuary site with crizotinib, and we can also hope for response in CNS metastasis with this compound. So all in all, really very promising compound. Not only this one, there were also 2 other ones out of this group presented a little bit earlier in development, most of them crizotinib naive, but even there you saw very interesting signs and very high activity.
Okay, so this was a phase 2 trial, I guess, and only a small number of patients, but really promising. Do you know how far the drug is from the market? Will it be licensed?
Well, it obviously is on the priority line now for the FDA. What for us in Switzerland and Europe, we will have phase 3 studies coming up. Some in the first line setting, some in the third line setting after crizotinib and chemotherapy, which will be a randomized trial where also Swiss centers will participate, not too many as we have to pool these patients. And for the moment there are still this extension cohort of a phase 1 which was presented, actually is still open, and patients can be sent to these open trials, which for Swiss population is currently in Germany.
In Germany. So, and for the US, I think it's somewhere they have several centers open in the US probably.
Correct.
Okay. So this drug is probably coming fast to the market. Were there other data regarding some molecular changes and possible pharmacological possibilities?
Well, there we have to mention dabrafenib, which is a selective BRAF inhibitor of patients with a BRAF mutation in V600E, which is something that if patients has a BRAF mutation occurs in about 50% of these patients, so it's rather rare. But they showed early data of 20 patients in whom most responded, and they showed a response rate of 8 out of 20, so 40%, which responded to targeted therapy. We don't know yet how long this response will last, but this is certainly a very nice and early sign that also in this population, which mostly also includes smoker, targeted therapy can be or is likely to be very useful.
Okay, so a very small group, I guess, the BRAF mutated V3600, I think mutation is it?
Correct. This group is rather small, as I said. 1 to 2% of the patients with lung cancer have a BRAF mutation. About only 50% of them do have this particular V600D mutation, where this dabrafenib has a great effect.
Okay, so in a way, practice changing, but also away from the clinic a little bit. It will, well, one could use it off label, but in a way, it's not a marketed solution so far, but it will be most likely with these results. And
yes, I think this looks very promising, and I see for such a small population, I really see an opportunity for treatment. Certainly, we have to await further follow-up also to see how long the responses last. So, but it certainly stays exciting, and I'm looking forward to the next meetings to see more of this.
Okay, very interesting. Regarding the testing, probably this is done everywhere differently. How is it done currently in St. Gallen in Switzerland? What do you test, and do you test for everything, or do you have algorithms, or how does that go?
Well, we do lung panel testing with let's say frequent mutations upfront, which also include BRAF, HER2, certainly EGFR, ALK, and everything else we may test according to certain clinical characteristics further down the course of the disease, be it a non-smoker or never smoker who get tested, for example, for ROS1, RET or rarer alterations.
Okay. Do you also test regarding, this is also all non-small cell lung cancer, I guess, and is it only adenocarcinoma, or do you not distinguish between different histologies in non-small lung cancer regarding the testing?
I do not test squamous cell carcinoma, except for those which are in my institution at least few who have never smoked. I might consider EGFR mutation testing, although someone has a squamous cell carcinoma, and I found already one patient with a EGFR mutation as a squamous cell carcinoma. But I do not routinely test squamous cell carcinoma patients.
Okay, so the testing is really changing all the times and probably done differently all over the globe, probably. It also depends on what you can offer to the patients. But surely there are new options coming, as you said. Is there any other new data practice changing from the ASCO, really, or do you think there was loads of studies but not really practice changing in that sense?
Yeah, I think the latter one, it's also a building process. There are again encouraging data from PD-1, PD-L1 agents. I think this is going to come. I think we're going to not copy but do similar studies as in melanoma. It shows clearly that those agents have activity also in lung cancer. This is exciting times. Unfortunately, a big trial, the STIMIVAX trial, MAC1 vaccination was negative, but there were some signs also there that with vaccination you can have some positive effects in some subgroups. We'll see where it goes from there. There are other studies with vaccinations going on. And what was very disappointed was the chemotherapy part, that we tried to improve on efficacy in chemotherapy by using markers doing customized chemotherapy. Unfortunately, 2 studies from Rosell and Pepler were negative with this regard, so we have further work to do there. But yeah, times are exciting, and this is a moving target.
Okay, so not much practice change, but much is preparing to practice change in that sense. Martin, thank you very much for this summary. Hope to see you next year again. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, David.